بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين صل على محمد قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One of the greatest tests that the Muslim Ummah was tested with, a test that many failed, many who had passed previous tests with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, they failed when it came to this particular test. It was a very difficult test for the Muslims, and that was the test of obedience to the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. The test of obedience to the Ahlulbayt was one that a great number of Muslims, of companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, who stood with the Prophet in Uhud and Badr, in the battles defending the Prophet, but when it came to this particular test, they started stumbling, and they could not hold their ground. And that is the test of loyalty and obedience to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Now, the love for the Ahlul Bayt. Today, we are the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. And we claim, of course, we claim to love the Ahlul Bayt. Because sometimes our actions, the way we live our lives, they're not the way of a person who truly loves the Ahlul Bayt. We claim to love the Ahlul Bayt. However, today some people, they ask us, why do you love the Ahlul Bayt? What's the significance of the Ahlul Bayt? Is this something that is based only on emotions, or is this rooted in the religion of Islam? The answer, my dear brothers and sisters, is that the love for the Ahlul Bayt and the devotion and the commitment that we show to the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi is a devotion that we have been ordered to display towards the Ahlul Bayt. It's not a choice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly states in the Quran, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Say, I do not ask you for any reward. Meaning the Prophet, Rasulullah, he's supposed to tell the Muslims. They come to him, they tell him, Ya Rasulullah, you saved us, you guided us, you brought us out of idol worship, you did this and this for us. How can we repay you? The Prophet used to always say, Inna ajri ala Allah. My reward is from God. Until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders the Prophet, Qul, Ya Rasulullah, tell them, Qul la as'alukum alayhi ajran. Say, I do not ask for any ajr. I don't ask for any reward, except what? Illa al-mawaddata fil qurba. Except mawadda. Love towards the family. So the love for the Ahlul Bayt, the qurba, the relatives of the Prophet, and we will explain who are these qurba, who are the Ahlul Bayt. This is a direct order by Allah and an order by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. In a famous hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, he says, أَدِّبُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ عَلَى ثَلَاثِ خِصَالٍ. Discipline your children from a young age. Discipline them with these three qualities. What are they? حُبُّ نَبِيِّكُمْ وَحُبُّ آلِ بَيْتِهِ وَتِلَاوَةِ الْقُرْآنِ. The love for the Prophet and the love for his holy family and the recitation of the Quran. This is what every father, what every mother should do as an order of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. In another hadith, Rasulullah says, حُبُّ أَهْلِ بَيْتِي وَذُرِّيَّتِي إِسْتِكْمَالُ الدِّينِ. Your deen, your religion will be complete once you love the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So it's not an issue of, oh yeah, they're good people and I love them, and if I don't want to love them, it's okay. No, it's a part of our religion. It's a part of our faith and to love the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. And this is clear, because loving them means you will follow them. And when you follow them, that means your religion will be secure. This is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, when he left, he says, I'm leaving behind two things. These two things, if you hold on to them, you will not go astray. Your religion will be sound, your iman will be sound. Everything that I'm leaving behind will be secure through these two things. Islam will be safe through these two things. What are they? إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمْ الثَّقَلَيْنِ. Thaqalayn means something thaqil, something heavy. And thaqalayn means that you have to put them equal on the scale. They're two heavy, weighty things. إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمْ الثَّقَلَيْنِ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَعِتْرَتِي أَهْلَ بَيْتِي. The book of God and my family, the Ahlul Bayt. And then he clarifies. He says that my family, the Ahlul Bayt, they are the interpreters of the Quran. And it is the Quran that legislates and gives authority to my Ahlul Bayt. Now this hadith has been narrated in multiple forms. And in the Sunni tradition, it is narrated in Sahih Muslim in a different wording, but the same meaning. The same meaning. Sahih Muslim, he narrates this hadith. But now today, it's very unfortunate. Today you go to the non-Shi'i school of thought, and they have another hadith that is widely accepted, and that hadith is much lower in the rank of the chain of authenticity. And that is, I'm leaving behind the Quran and my sunnah, my tradition. However, the more authentic hadith, for the Shi'i school of thought, it is absolutely the Ahlul Bayt, and even according to the Sunni standards of accepting hadith, it is the Ahlul Bayt, the hadith of the Ahlul Bayt that weighs stronger, and that is more valid and has a stronger chain. But today you find some people, due to their arrogance, due to their rejection of the truth, they reject this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So, the love for the Ahlul Bayt is something that all Muslims accept. You won't find a single Muslim that will tell you, I don't love the Ahlul Bayt. Everyone will tell you, I love the Ahlul Bayt, because it's a part of our religion to love the Ahlul Bayt. This is why Imam al-Shafi'i, the Imam of the Shafi'i school of thought, he has a famous poem. He says, يَا آلَ بَيْتِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ حُبُّكُمُ فَرْضٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ فِي الْقُرْآنِ أَنزَلَهُ كَفَاكُمُ مِنْ عَظِيمِ الشَّأْنِ أَنَّكُمُ مَنْ لَمْ يُصَلِّي عَلَيْكُمْ لَا صَلَاةَ لَهُ. صلوا على. He says, to translate it, he says, يَا آلَ بَيْتِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ حُبُّكُمُ. O family of Rasulullah, your love is a fard, is a wajib, min Allah, from God, fil Qur'ani anzalahu. It has come down to us in the Quran. Why? Because the Quran says, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. And then he says, كَفَاكُمُ مِنْ عَظِيمِ الشَّأْنِ أَنَّكُمُ. You are so great that the salah, مَنْ لَمْ يُصَلِّي عَلَيْكُمْ, the one who does not send salutations and salam to you in prayer, their salah is not accepted. Today, every Muslim, Sunni, Shi'i, Salafi, whatever you call them, in their salah they send salawat upon Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt. We say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. The others, they say, as-salawat al-Ibrahimiyya, which is also valid for us to also say, where Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad kama sallayta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. This is a salawat that includes the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And even when we do our salawat, right now you all just said salawat, you say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is how we are taught to say. We send, oh Allah, send your blessings and salutations upon Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. But today you find many Muslims, how do they say salawat upon the Prophet? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And some of them, they say it so fast, it's like this, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It doesn't even, you can't even understand what's being said. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders Muslims. Allah orders Muslims. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala al-nabi ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Now, someone might say, but the Quran, in this verse, Inna Allah, God and His angels send salawat upon the Prophet. O you people who believe, send salawat upon him, wasallimu taslima, and submit to him. Someone could come and say, yeah, we're the Ahlulbayt. Why is sending salawat upon the Ahlulbayt wajib when the Quran does not say the Ahlulbayt? This question was posed to Al-Allam al-Hilli. Al-Allam al-Hilli was one of our greatest scholars. About 700 years ago, Allam al-Hilli, he was the reason why Persia, today Iran, Persia, why it became a Shi'i-dominated country. Before, the Persian Empire, once they joined the religion of Islam, they were conquered during the time of the second Khalifa Umar, and they joined the religion of Islam. Their predominant belief was a Sunni belief. But eventually, they became Shi'as. Eventually they became followers of the Ahlulbayt. And this is after Allam al-Hilli. There was a long story. The Shah, the king of that time, Shah Muhammad Khuda Banda, he had an issue. He divorced his wife 3 times in one session. He tells his wife, Anti talaq, talaq, talaq. Now, according to the Sunni fiqh, Sunni rules of jurisprudence, if a man does this, then his wife becomes, that's it, she's divorced. And you have 3 chances. If she is divorced 3 times, then that's it. You can't go back to her. She has to go get married to someone else, and then you could marry her again if that person divorces her. Now in the Shi'i school of thought, divorce is much more difficult. Divorce is not supposed to be that easy. Yes, you can have 3 times, but each divorce counts as one divorce. So you have to be sane, you can't be angry, you can't be upset. There needs to be witnesses, 2 just witnesses. And then if a man tells his wife, Anti talaq, it counts as 1. Then she has to go into her iddah, she has to wait 3 period cycles. And then he goes back to her, and then he divorces her again. So the whole process should take, if someone were to do it consecutively, it would take about 9 months. They've come and they've said, in one session, you come, Anti talaq bithalath, and that's it, she becomes divorced. So the king, he divorced his wife in that way, then he regretted it. Just like many people, when they do a divorce, they regret it eventually. So what happened? He tells them, I want to go back to my wife. I don't want anyone to marry my wife so that I could marry her. They tell him, ask the leader of the Shafi'is. They ask the leader of the Shafi'is. He says, no, you can't marry your wife. Leader of the Hanafis, nope, you can't marry your wife. Leader of the Hanbalis, nope. You ask all of them, and everyone, they close the door in his face. He said, find me a solution. They tell him there's this weird sect out there, and they are the Shia. They are the followers of the Ahlulbayt. They have this view, and the marja of that time was a scholar by the name of Al-Muhaqqiq al-Hilli. Al-Muhaqqiq al-Hilli. Today when we go to the Hawza, we read his book, Shara'i' al-Islam. His nephew was Al-Allam al-Hilli. So they write a letter to Muhaqqiq al-Hilli, who was in Hilla, Iraq. He was the marja of that time, and it was a Hawza at that time, in Hilla, Iraq. They write a letter to him, they tell him, we need you to come. He sends his nephew, Al-Allam al-Hilli. Allam al-Hilli, he goes, and after a long discussion, he convinces the Shah of that time, he convinces him to become a Shia. So then the Shah becomes Shi'i, and he gives authority to Allam al-Hilli to go around in the mosques, in the places, to give lectures and speak. And the Shah started kind of pushing for the ideology of Allam al-Hilli. So Allam al-Hilli speaking one day, a man gets up in front of him and he tells him, you say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Send salawat upon Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. But the Quran says, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi. It doesn't say wa ali Muhammad. So where did you get this from? And don't bring me any hadith. You know, sometimes some people, they think they try to get you, they say, don't bring me any hadith, as if hadith is coming from, you know, a wrong source. If the hadith is from the Prophet, it's from the Imams, then hadith is also authentic. The man, he says, don't bring me hadith. So, Allam al-Hilli, he tells him, yes, I will tell you how you could do salawat upon the family of Rasulullah, not from the Quran. How? He tells him, he recites this verse. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Those who, when they are وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ, give glad tidings to the patient ones. Who? الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ. Those who, when they're afflicted with a tragedy, what do they say? إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. What is their reward? أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَرَحْمَةٌ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُهْتَدُونَ. Those people, Allam al-Hilli tells him, any normal person, if they're afflicted with a tragedy, and they were patient, and they say, إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ, they deserve the salawat from their Lord. So now I ask you, the Ahlul Bayt, were they not afflicted with tragedies? The Ahlul Bayt, did they not go through difficulties? Were they patient? Yes, they were patient. So therefore they deserve the salawat from Allah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he says, لا تصلوا علي الصلاة البتراء. When you send salawat, don't send a half salawat upon me. They ask him, how should we say salawat? He tells them, you say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, who are the Ahlul Bayt? This is a very important question. What do we mean when we say the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet? Ahlul Bayt means the people of the house. So who is included in this definition? Because the Quran has purified the Ahlul Bayt, a specific definition. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 33. So, who are these Ahlul Bayt that have been purified? And there's a special ruling for them. These are the ones that we have to follow. These are the ones that we have to love. These are the ones that we have to show love to, show mawaddah to. Giving them sadaqah is haram. Who are these people? Here, the Ahlul Bayt has two meanings. There is a specific meaning and there is a general meaning. The general meaning, Ahlul Bayt, means people of the house. The relatives of the Prophet, the family of the Prophet, Bani Hashim, the family of the relatives, the clan of Hashim was one big clan. They could all be the family of the Prophet. And this circle keeps getting wider and wider, because a lot of people could be included in this. Rasulullah tells Salman, who was not even an Arab, Salman al-Farisi, he tells him, Anta minna, Salmanu minna Ahlul Bayt. Salman is from us, the Ahlul Bayt. So this is a gesture of who's close to the Prophet. However, when we say the Ahlul Bayt, we mean a specific group of people. And how do we understand who they are? We look at the context of Quranic revelation. First of all, who are they? There is no doubt amongst Muslims that Rasulullah, Imam Ali, Fatima al-Zahra, Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein. No one questions that they are the Ahlul Bayt. The debate is, are the wives of the Prophet included in this equation or are they not included? So no one questions, not Sunnis, not Shi'as, no one questions Imam Ali, Fatima al-Zahra, Imam al-Hasan, Imam al-Hussein, that they are a part of the Ahlul Bayt. And in fact, the majority of the Sunni scholars, they believe that the Ahlul Bayt is these five. Rasulullah, Imam Ali, Fatima Zahra, Imam Hassan, and Imam Hussein. One of the scholars, he has a commentary on Bukhari. His name is Ibn Battal. He says that the majority of the Sunni scholars, they believe that the Ahlul Bayt is these five. There's a handful that say no, the wives of the Prophet, they're included. One of them is Ibn Taymiyyah, for example. But the majority, they say that those are the Ahlul Bayt. And the proof is in the Quran itself. In the Quran itself, you could find the proof. You go to Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 33 to 34. The Quran begins talking to the wives of the Prophet. The first order is to the wives of the Prophet. Ya Nisa an-Nabi, O wives of the Prophet. And listen to the tone of the Quran. Ya Nisa an-Nabi, lastunna ka'ahadim minan nisa. You are not like any of the women. And this unna, this is exclusively for the woman. In the Arabic language, if that unna at the end, lastunna ka'ahadim minan nisa. In ittaqayna fala takhda'na. This is for women. So, Ya Nisa an-Nabi, lastunna ka'ahadim minan nisa. In ittaqayna fala takhda'na bilqawl. Fayatma' alladhi fi qalbihi marad. Wa qulna qawlan ma'rufa. The Quran, the tone is a little bit rough with them. You are not like the other women. You have to stay at home. You can't talk like anyone else. You have to be this and that. وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. Stay in your homes. وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. Don't come out of the house like the times of Jahiliyyah, without your scarves, without your hijab. وَأَقَمْنَ الصَّلَاةَ وَآتِينَ الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِعْنَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. Obey God, give zakat, give this and that. And then suddenly, إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. Suddenly you see the pronoun changes. First it was unna, talking only to the wives. Then إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. So here scholars, they say these are, you have to separate these. You can't come and carry on the same Ya Nisa and Nabi, carry it on to this one. Because the pronoun has changed now. So now we have to see what is the context of revelation of this half of the verse, and what is the context of the second half. This is one way to look at it. Another way is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is scolding the wives. Do this, do that, don't leave the house. You have to wear the hijab this way, that way, that way. You're not like anyone else. God wishes to purify you and remove all filth and remove all evil from you. Do these two go hand in hand? 1 second you're scolding someone, the other second you're purifying someone and raising this person? They don't go hand in hand. So here it is obvious that the discussion in the second part of the verse, it is about someone else, another group. Who is that group? It is obvious. The Sahih Muslim in his book, he says that this verse, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. The last part of the verse, that was revealed in the house of Ali ibn Abi Talib and Fatima al-Zahra. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Another proof, one of the scholars, Zayd ibn Arqam, one of the companions of the Prophet, Zayd ibn Arqam, he gives his own justification why the wives of the Prophet are not a part of the Ahlul Bayt. He says, because the Ahlul Bayt, they are the blood and flesh of a person. And a wife could be divorced. Therefore, she could be a part of the family and she could be not a part of the family. But the children and the blood and the flesh of a person, they are their family. They are his family. Whether he likes it or not, they remain his family. And another proof is that the wives of the Prophet, each one had her own house. وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنْ. Each one had her own room in the greater house of the Prophet. And a room, they would call it Bayt. So each one had her own. This verse was revealed when the Prophet was in the home of Imam Ali and Fatima al-Zahra, and it is talking about one house. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت. Al-Bayt. This alif lam is about one house. Each one of the wives of the Prophet had her own house. This is talking about one particular house. And Salama, she says that she was there when this verse was revealed. And this is the story of the cloak. Hadith al-Kisa. When the Prophet, he entered into the house of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, and he had a cloak with him, a kisa. So he goes, he tells Fatima, where's the kisa? Come and cover me with it, come and cover me with it. She comes and she covers him. Then Imam al-Hassan comes, then Imam al-Hussein, then Amir al-Mu'mineen comes, and Fatima al-Zahra, she enters. Then Salama, one of the wives of the Prophet, and she was a good wife. She was a good lady. She tells the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, can I enter under the kisa with you? He tells her, Anti ala khair. You are fine where you are. He tells her, you are fine. And this is in Sunan al-Tirmidhi. The Prophet did not allow Salama, even though she was a good, pious lady, to be a part of the Ahlul Bayt. What does this show us? This shows us that the Ahlul Bayt, they are this group of people. They are the ones who have been purified by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, did the Muslims fulfill their duty to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? The unfortunate truth is that no, that was not the case. Immediately after the death of the Prophet, they didn't wait. They didn't wait. The Prophet has not been buried yet, and they started plotting against the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, against Imam Ali, against Fatima al-Zahra, against Imam al-Hassan, against Imam al-Hussein. Every single one of them was oppressed. Every single one of them was marginalized. And as time went on, the atrocities against the Ahlul Bayt continued and became worse and worse. Now someone might say, okay, you know what? Now for the sake of unity, for the sake of the Muslims coming together, you Shi'as, you put this aside, and let's all go together, let's all focus on unity, let's all focus on having one larger ummah. Yeah, here, what do we say? We say we cannot compromise the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, because if we compromise the Ahlul Bayt, that means we would be compromising Islam. That means we would not be understanding Islam in the way that we're supposed to. And we mentioned a few nights ago, the Quran requires an interpreter. Who is the interpreter? Who should interpret the Quran for me? Should the person who has no clue what the Quran means, the one who does not have the answer, should this person interpret the Quran? Or should it be the Ahlul Bayt who the Quran was revealed in their homes? And Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, in her sermon, she says that the obedience to the Ahlul Bayt, that is what will keep the Ummah united. Without the obedience of the Ahlul Bayt, the Ummah will be divided. She says, جَعَلَ اللَّهُ طَاعَتَنَا نِظَامًا لِلْأُمَّةِ وَإِمَامَتَنَا أَمَانًا مِنَ الْفِرْقَةِ. She says, our ta'ah, our obedience is نِظَامًا لِلْمِلَّةِ. Our obedience is what will keep the ummah organized. And our obedience is what will keep division away. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he says, it is the obedience of the Ahlul Bayt that will give victory to the Muslims. When did he say this? He said this on the day of Ghadir. When he appointed Imam Ali alayhi salam, then he does a dua. He says, Allahumma wali man walah, wa adi man adah, wansur man nasarah, wakhdul man khadalah. Give victory to those who give victory to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Give victory and support to those who support Imam Ali alayhi salam. So this is why, my dear brothers and sisters, we hold on to the Ahlul Bayt. Not because of arrogance and pride, we just want to hold on to a group of people. No. We're holding on to the Ahlul Bayt because we have been ordered to do so. We're holding on to the Ahlul Bayt because they are the ones who connect us to the Quran. They connect us to the Hadith. They connect us to the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Otherwise, we don't have a problem. If Allah tells us in the Quran, follow someone else, we will follow someone else. The Quran did not tell us to follow someone else. The Quran ordered us to follow a specific group of people, and we follow that group of people. My dear brothers and sisters, we ask Allah to keep us on the path of the wilayah, on the path of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi at-tahirin.